is Rubin. I've been an Android developer for 5 years. I'm currently working at a company called Snap. Today, I'm just going to talk about 7 Android hacks that I've been using throughout my career. I hope these tips are helpful to you, as it has to me even today. And in case you didn't catch, for the last image, you shouldn't try to fix your location to space. So first hack I want to talk about is shell script and using ADB and Git. So for those who doesn't know, what's a shell script? Shell script is a computer program designed to be run by a Unix command line interpreter. So for my example, I'm just going to use this as executing like ADB and Git commands, and also batching and creating your own commands. And also, for those who doesn't know what's ADB, so ADB is the command line tool that comes when you install your Android Studio or Android SDK. So it's installed right under the SDK folder, on the top of those, and you can use this to communicate with your device. And how do you set up the ADB? So this part is a bit complicated. So you have to create a bash profile and include your ADB paths. In here, I link my GitHub repo to instructing how to set this up. And once you have set it up, you can create your own commands to execute commands as the following. So these are the top 5 commands that I heavily use, when I do developing feature. So there are 5 commands. So if I go to my GitHub, the test is so the first steps are, this is like for Macs only. This is to set up your bash profile, and once you create it, as I had mentioned, you can create your own commands, and these are the top 5 commands that I use very heavily. So one of them being the ADB reset. So this one clears the cache. It stops your app and then clears the app cache. So I'll show you a demo like how this actually works. And also for these commands, you can actually do all these commands, just using your phone. But the reason why this is helpful is that it's much quicker to just run this command, which literally takes 1 second. If you try to delete your own if you try to delete the cache from the settings, sometimes it takes a while depending on your OS and what kind of device you have. Give me an example. Okay. Instead, I'm going to just have to restart that or something.
You can restart.
Yep. Okay. So I created an app called Android hacks. So it's a very simple app. You have just text edit, you have the save button. So if I press save, so hello is being cached on the shared preference. Obviously, even if you exit the app and when you come back, it'll get persisted. So when you're developing a feature, and it's important to clear out your cache and test it again. I think that your first approach will be something like this, where you are driving the app and you're going to the app setting. Then going here and pressing the clear data. And that's how you clear it. And also, and if you want to so let's say if you store more things. So it's clear. And then if you want to go back, you cannot access this, for some devices, you cannot access a setting again from the history stack, so it makes it difficult to go through the app settings. So, but if you set up the commands as I have shown, you open up the terminal. Okay. Alright, so that's what we just maybe reset, and our app is called hacks. Run this, success, took 1 second, go back to your cache is deleted. So yeah, and this will save you like a lot of time when you are developing a feature that's related to cache. So the other commands are, you can also delete your app this way, or you can also stop the app. This is sometimes important when you want to like fresh load your app into the memory, because when you press the back button or click on history stack, it does not guarantee that your app is freshly loaded onto the memory. And also one of the another thing that I kind of frequently use is so when you have a connection problem with your Android device and your Android Studio is having trouble detecting it, instead of restarting your Android Studio, you can just execute this command, and it will start your ADB and start detecting your devices again. The reason why I do ADB devices and after I kill is that so that this one actually restarts it, but also it shows me, hey, what devices are connected, so it confirms that, okay, devices are, I can see the device on my computer. And the other command is, so this is not so ADB, again, like the shell script is like creating your own shell script command is very powerful. It doesn't have to be just limited to ADB. It can be also Git as well. And also I'm pretty sure like everyone also will benefit from this command as well. And also this is like really long to like remember like, to type out those, which is like this one deletes, clean up your this one clean up your local branches that has been merged, which you don't want to see when you're trying to check out a branch. You're gonna see that guy a lot of time. Okay, the second feature. This one I use this feature every day. So Slack has a feature called Remind Me. So one of the developer dilemma is that like we're constantly interrupted. We get like a bunch of messages, emails. People are asking stuff. Want to debug. Can we discuss this? And the problem is that like we have to context switch. And I don't know if you guys can read this. So this is also kind of famous comment. So you have a developer who's trying to solve a problem, and then he's going through all these thought process to create a solution. Then at the end of the comment, you see that his coworker comes by, he asks to check his email, and all his solution is gone, right? And then he just walks away, and his solution is gone as well. So it's so that's the problem that we're trying to avoid. So how does Slack Remind Me helps? So it's basically a to-do plus calendar report. Everyone has their own kind of to-do or like note-taking tool. I think this one has like benefited like a lot more than the other tool because it's very simple to use. So I'll show you some examples. So when you go to a Slack channel and you just type the /remind, I don't know if you guys can read that. It's so you just need to remind like whether it's me or someone, and you have to write the message and also when you want to be reminded. So as you can see, some of the examples are like /remind me tomorrow to track the login fragment, or /remind me at someone to tomorrow that there's a backend issue. So and also because you're usually getting all these kind of the tasks, you're being asked all these through often on the Slack. So if you just click your the overflow button on your Slack message, you have this menu, and you can access this menu, and you can set up an easy reminder to set it up to work in like 20 minutes. And also, when you get a message, you get this like a list, which is almost like a to-do. You can mark them as complete, or it was like, okay, you know what? I thought I would have time in an hour. Actually, I don't. I want to be reminded by tomorrow again. So it's easy to kind of interact with this like to-do plus the reminder list. use in 5 seconds. So go away, and also to show you the app. So I set up a reminder to remind me in 5 seconds. I noticed that this reminder is not really like second precise, so it may take some time. But in the meanwhile, I'll also show you the other this feature that I was talking about. So for any message, so this is message sent by Eric Wang. You just click on it and go to remind me about this, and if you just click on this, we remind you in 20 minutes, okay, what that, and it will remind you about this message with a link. And also, the reminder that we set, that was for 5 seconds, it comes as like a message, and you can see that, like, okay, you asked me to remind you how long, so, and you can mark this as complete, and also for the reminder feature that I set up, so it will look something like this, where you have a link and you can go to the exact message and follow. Okay, this was a reminder. I want to follow up and work on it 2 hours later. Okay. So again, just to emphasize again, so for other to-do and calendar, because it's very time consuming and slow, and sometimes it's hard to set up a similar reminder. And we want to minimize the time spent for the context switch, because we're often just not because we want to be focused on the current task that we're working on, and we don't want to lose that detail. Okay. The third tool, so which is Git GUI Client. So for me, I use source tree, but there are also better Git GUI clients out there that's more suitable for you. The reason why I recommend Git GUI Client is that it's very easy to merge, and it's very you can easily pick and choose. Let's say if you're trying to merge a file and you screw something up and you want to go back to the file and start from the beginning again. It's very easy. So, and also Android Studio itself is also Git GUI Client as well. So you can also use Android Studio if that's more suitable for you. Okay, that's right. All right. So I'm just gonna show you another demo. Okay, so I have a source tree here. I'm just gonna. So I'm on a branch go delete 1, 2, 3, and we're just gonna pull from the master. It's gonna say that I have a merge conflict. If I go here, it indicates that I have 2 files that has conflict. So I go here and I can launch my merge tool, and it shows that the changes that was made and the problem that I have to solve. So. So for this one, since there's only change, it's not as obvious. But usually, most of the time, you only want to solve the merge conflict that's being highlighted as conflict. For the other one, you can just follow what Git suggests you to take changes to. So let me show you. For this one, there's a lot of changes. Again, you don't have to go through everything. You just have to go to the one that's has conflict. For the next conflict, which is this one. It's hard to see, but this one is more. It's highlighted compared to the other one. So let me just on this. Let's see. I think right change. restart the merge because I figure, okay, I screwed something up after looking at the other file. I can restart the merge and you solve the merge again. So in this way, using a GUI tool to help you Git file merge is pretty good compared to just doing it on terminal. Okay, all right. So of course, tips that I want to talk about. As a shortcut, so there's two recommended ways that I have used, two ways that I have used to help me remember a shortcut. So first is, this is our Android Studio key map. There's so many shortcuts, and also it's not just the Android Studio shortcut you have to remember, and it becomes overwhelming, what key you have to press, right? And also, like for me, one of the problem that I sometimes have is I forgot, how was it refactor the, let's say refactor the method. So rename the method, and I start pressing, was it F6 or F7, and I start pressing it until I get the refactoring right. So one of the tools that I want to recommend is the key tool MX. So this one is a plugin that's available in your Android Studio. This one, every time you execute a command through mouse click, it shows you a dialog saying that, hey, you shouldn't do that. You should have used this shortcut to do it. So this one already has that key tool motor installed. So I'll show you what I do. So let's say I want to rename this guy. Then I go refactor, rename, and then on the bottom right, it say, hey, you should have used Shift F6 to rename your method. So I actually use, and it tells you how many times you press this key, and it tells you how many times you fail. So if I actually do F6, so it doesn't show the pop-up anymore. So this is a pretty good tool to memorize shortcut, especially if you have common, it tells you what kind of bad habit that you're making, and it tells you how many counters. So therefore, it reminds you that, hey, you should really memorize this shortcut. So find action. So for this one, you literally don't have to remember any of the shortcut. You just have to memorize a keyword for it. You can find any command that's available in Android Studio. You just have to do Command Shift A, and then it will help you search. So going back to renaming. So if I do just type rename, and if I think, it's hard to remember Shift F6, I could just remember the rename, and then just execute the command. And in this way, you can see you never have to memorize any of the shortcut in Android Studio, but you'll be as much advanced user as people who know shortcut. Okay, so the fifth tool is network debugger called interceptor. There are a lot of great Android debugger tools, but I think this is the one of the best. So what this one is, it logs the HTTP request and response. It's very similar to, I don't know if you guys know Trust Proxy, but it's very similar, but it doesn't have the ability to modify the request and response. The only requirement is that you have to use OKHTTP. So also, if your retrofit is using OKHTTP, you can also still use this as well. So I posted a link how, so they have the detailed setup, and the setup is pretty easy as well. And do another demo. Okay, so there is this button called Make Network Call. I'm just going to get rid of the push notification. Okay. If I click on Make Network Call, alright, so it's the crash is not part of the future. Okay, so it won't crash your outcomes. But you get this nice push notification saying that, hey, I detected a network call, and then you just do a drop down. You see that there is a network request that was made. So, and this one is I am calling the Yelp API, and because I don't have the right API open, so it's supposed to give me 400 status, but because of the crash, it didn't. I'm gonna try it one more time. Hope that doesn't crash. Okay, all right. Sorry. Okay, so where the exclamation mark is, there is supposed to be 400 and give you the status code, and it gives you more. Okay, all right. That's bad. What happened there? Okay, yeah. So it gives you this request and response. So it's supposed to show you like nice, the headers that you use for your request, and also the response that you got, which may be JSON. I think it might be a better idea to go here and show it from their website. Yeah, so you see it looks like that, and it's pretty nice, and you can see how the response looks like. And when you have to send this to your coworker, say you want to share this text, you can easily like send emails or Slack to people that you want to send, and it has the full network logs. So I do highly recommend using this tool if you haven't used it yet. Okay. So the sixth tool is to disable instant run. I don't know if you guys don't know what instant run is. So beside your compile, there is this line icon. If you press that, it probably works like 1 out of 100 times or something. They actually rewrote their code in Android Studio 3.0, but after they rewrote it, I have noticed that sometimes your app doesn't get compiled into APK because it's a bunch of small problems. So and also fortunately, instant run will be deprecated and it will be replaced with supply chain. Yes, yeah. This will be in 3.5. They announced this in January. Hopefully, we'll have this soon. Yeah. They said it again. They said this will be better this time. So hopefully, it works better. Is the last. So next one, the last tip I want to talk about is the design pattern, this MVP. So I know that Google is pushing hard for MVVM pattern, and they have the binder logic and all these, but but despite that, in my experience, using MVP found it to be more reusable and also more easily testable. Unfortunately, because this is really long talk, so I'll talk about this in the next talk. And that's about it. And great times. Any question, Jeff?
What's up with the lack of dark theme?
Darking?
In your terminal.
I guess I want to be different. Yeah.
The Shark library, the network.
Yeah, Shark interceptor. Yeah.
Can you easily disable it for production builds?
So you should have a 2 build variant, which is one for debug and one for release. So on debug, you should do debug compile this. They also actually have instruction how to do debug compile as well, and also release compile. So yeah, you should have it on debug, but not on the release. Yeah,
contribution. There is a menu in Android Studio that is called productivity guide.
Yeah.
That it tells you a lot of stuff about what shortcuts are you using, what other things you should use that you are not using.
Yeah.
The
Sorry, what was
productivity guy.
Yeah, like on the tab, right, on the bottom, or are you talking about like the
It's a menu.
website?
It's a menu.
It's a
You
menu.
can find it with Command Shift A.
Okay. Let's see. Talking about this like to-do list or something else?
No,
No?
it's Command Shift A.
Yeah.
Productivity guy.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Well,
Alright. I guess I'll read it.
Are you familiar with the command line for Git command line? Are you using?
Not so much. Like for my Android usage, it just like I guess it just cleaning up local branch. That's been only like useful like Git command for me. Of course, and also because I use it so I use a terminal and then I also use a Git GUI client. So you know, in combination of that, like I didn't find like other like commands to be like useful.
Yeah, with iOS, if you want to have some continuous integration kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but actually like those command line automatically so you
Yeah.
have to be on chip.
Oh yeah, of course, right? Like if you want to increment your version and all these, right? Yeah.
That's good. For the execute interceptor.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the main benefit of using that versus using again the intercept from Logcat?
So the Logcat, so the information detail from the Logcat versus Chuck interceptor, they're about the same, but Chuck like makes it more beautiful. And also, let's say if you're giving a build to backend, right, or someone else, right, or maybe you know you're testing something and then you want to quickly find out if this screen is making a call or not, right, or if there's a failure. It's more convenient way to access your network log. Like, of course, you can do the same thing on the Logcat, but it makes it harder to find. Whereas on Logcat, like everything's organized for you. So you can send email as well if you need to. Any other question?
When you resolve the context in source tree,
Yeah.
was that a part of source tree now, or because when I used source tree before,
Yeah.
I had to use something like Randall or something like
Yeah.
to resolve the context.
So I think you're talking about the text editor that showed up, right? Is that part of it?
Yeah.
So you can pick your own like I guess the file merge editor that you want to use. I forgot what mine is called. I think mine is called like a file dip or something. It's one that Xcode uses. You have to install it through Xcode, and I guess that's the setup that I have.
The same line, you can use Android Studio as a merge tool.
Yeah, you can do that too, right? Actually, when you commit through Android Studio, it tells you, it also kind of compiles for you and tells you that, hey, I cannot find this class. So when you actually commit, I do kind of recommend using Android Studio, but for file merging, I found like source tree to be more helpful. Because because when I try to use Android Studio for file merge, it seems like it's not as good as like other Git GUI